The worst football transfer of all time, without a doubt, has got to be when Leeds United bought Jean-Kevin Augustin. Leeds United spent almost £40 million on a player that played just 48 minutes of football for the club. Yes, you heard that right. £40 million for 48 minutes of football. That is £833,000 per minute. Jean-Kevin Augustin joined in the January transfer window, initially on a loan with the obligation to buy for £18 million. So where did it all go wrong? When the player arrived at Leeds United, there was a lot of expectation, there was high hopes that he was going to come in, he was going to turn up and help Leeds push on and try and achieve promotion. The fans were excited, the club was excited. However, the player that turned up at Thorpe Arch was not the player that they were expecting. He wasn't fit, he wasn't ready to be playing at a high level of football, and everything just went downhill from there. Jean-Kevin Augustin came with a decent reputation. He'd had a very good time at Leipzig. He was valued at 18 million, in which Leeds were prepared to pay for him in the summer if the loan deal went well. And it seemed like Leeds had finally got their striker. He looked powerful and strong, and maybe this was the player that was going to score all those goals and take us on to promotion, because it was January 2020 and Leeds were in that position of trying to get back to the Premier League. It was decided that he would not be continuing his career and his time at Leeds United. Bielsa wasn't impressed with what he saw. The club didn't want him. However, COVID struck, and with COVID came a lot of difficulties in terms of the contract situation, because Leeds were obliged to buy Jean-Kevin Augustin from RB Leipzig if Leeds got promoted, and Leeds did get promoted. However, COVID happened, meaning that the dates in which Leeds United got promoted were after the dates in the original contract between Leeds United and RB Leipzig, and this is where things get really messy. So Leeds United, they basically thought they'd got away with one, because they didn't want JKA as a Leeds United player. They'd been promoted to the Premier League, and they thought, we don't want to shell out £18 million on this player who simply isn't going to be good enough for us. So we're going to get out of it, because we still had 6 games to play after that end of June date because of COVID. However, RB Leipzig argued that in the spirit of the game, that it should be the end of the season. Because of the pandemic, that should still be honoured. So they took Leeds to the FIFA court. FIFA ruled in favour of RB Leipzig. However, Leeds and RB Leipzig couldn't agree on a compensation deal, so eventually it went to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, and Leeds were forced to pay. And in the end, not only did Leeds United have to pay £15.5 million to RB Leipzig for the player, they were also forced to pay £24.5 million to cover the player's £80,000 a week wage bill as well. So overall, Leeds United ended up spending almost £40 million on Jean-Kevin Augustin, who played just 48 minutes of football for Leeds United.